Welcome back to another episode of What You Watching on Melgar Media, or as you can see, the Upside Down, because today we will strictly be talking about Stranger Things Season 4. I will do a breakdown and my review, a little brief synopsis on each episode, not getting any too deep, but as we walk through the series, kind of touch on some really highlights, some things that I just thought that they really dove into a little bit more this season, as they kind of just change the themes up as the kids get older and as the show progresses and matures. And there are no cons, so I'm definitely not going to hit on anything that people thought they could have done better or anything like that. For me, being a massive fan of Goonies, I just felt like this is probably the closest thing that we're going to get to sequel-esque, Goonie-esque type children adventures. And then you throw in the sci-fi element, and man, I'm just on cloud nine, obviously being a huge Star Wars fan as well. And I'll get into my kind of grief with where they're at based on the production of Stranger Things later on in the video. But so there's your spoiler warning. So if you haven't seen or heard anything from Season 4 of Stranger Things, now is your time to mosey on out. We'll see you next time. If not, here we go. We're going to jump right in. I like where they started off, that, you know, with the gang coming back to their respective spots, as you have 11 in California now trying to go to a new school and you know, pick up with her life there, and then you've got the 3 boys still in Indiana going to high school and dealing with adolescence and feelings and emotion and all of that there. It's just very heartwarming, and they never really skip a beat. Like I said, with the children actors, it can go one of two ways. You know, it's either brilliant, but it takes a lot of work from the director and everyone on the staff and crew on set to keep them focused and being serious in the parts that they need to be, let alone, you know, have that many kids that are well-rounded actors. Like, none of them are just like, oh gosh, that one kid just doesn't fit. Everyone is great, but that person is just, you know, none of them. They all know their roles really well. I feel like they're so committed to each role in each season and each part of developing their character. So method acting in a sense, but, you know, being kids definitely helps. And you just kind of see the innocence and the rawness that just portrayed through the screen. So watching them come back and kind of reeling from the events that happened in the previous seasons, which all ended up and accumulated at the mall there. And I thought that season was just great as well, because it was just really vibrant and bright, and you're getting 11 into becoming a young lady and doing stuff with Max, and just they really work with the color palette and the scores to kind of help with the story, which should be done, which should be like the basics of doing any show or movie. But you see a lot of people overemphasize on, or movie directors or producers really have heavily emphasized on one or the other, and then you sacrifice storytelling or quality, and it just, you know, ends up falling short. Which, as I said, with Star Wars, you know, looking at where they're at right now, and it's hard because you see a production like Stranger Things just blowing anything Star Wars is doing right now out of the water, including somewhat of Mandalorian, which I really enjoy, and I think that that's the best content that they've got out right now. But here nor there, I'm only comparing it because they do such a good job with whatever budget they have for Stranger Things. And obviously, as it's been gaining momentum with the series and with the season, I just, you know, they're obviously getting a bigger budget, and they're using it correctly. The nostalgia is just really, really amazing. They perfectly balance it to where you're not getting too much, and, you know, whoever's in the crew in the background, they're very much coherent of every little thing. You know, if they see a painting on the wall that they're like, when was that actually created, or needs a little more wear and tear on this, or, you know, this was actually more popular than this, and kids had that, and this was the style, but you know, people were mixing it up even back then, so maybe give them this shirt with these jeans and then a homemade this. They're just very, very on top of it, and I think that that's what makes the show so enjoyable and easy to watch, because your eye aesthetically in the background is just not focused on like, well, this would be a little bit more entertaining or relatable if they wouldn't have, you know, missed those little details. It just really immerses you in the 80s and the time period when they were going to school or at home or anywhere in each episode. So with the kids coming back, they are obviously still talking about what was going on, but they each have their own life going on, and they're trying to figure out how to navigate through a lot of the teenage angst and things that come along with it. I thought all the characters come back and they're just spot on again with a new threat begins to arise. Along with a new threat comes new characters, and I have to say, they hit this. They always bring in actors and new characters seamlessly. They really think about how the addition of the characters is going to help the show and the story along, instead of just chunking in somebody for, you know, any reason, just to add to the credits and add to named actors. Excuse me, but they really do their research on, like, we can add another person on the good guy side or another person on the evil side, and we really want them to add in a big way to the storytelling. So in this case, you've got Joseph Quinn, who's playing Eddie Munson. Man, this guy became an absolute superstar, and I wouldn't say overnight, because it was when the first part of this season dropped. You saw him and you were like, I mean, I don't know, how's this character going to play out? Is he going to be likable? Is he with the gang, against the gang? Is he going to be somebody that, you know, you'll be able to look back and be a memorable character? Well, yes, all of those things. He is now going to be stapled in time, along with his Metallica Master of Puppets solo that he does. That whole just 3 or 4 minutes is legendary, and it just happened July 1st, you know. So, but yeah, his character was written really well. He plays the character really well, and I believe he's actually an English character, an English actor, but his American accent is spot on. His look and his swagger is really great, and is relatable to some of those educated misfits that went to school knowing that, you know, in the 80s, ADHD, ADD, all of that, yeah, they knew about it, but there weren't like programs that kind of helped you walk through it, or catching it early enough to, you know, without just giving you Ritalin or something like that. There wasn't, you know, really a space for you there, so you kind of found your niche. And, you know, as you see Eddie Munson with Dungeons and Dragons and creating the Hellfire Club, it was kind of his way of expressing his genius in all of this. But of course, when a evil comes around in Vecna, or later on you find out number one, you know, his skills come to light, because he just thinks in a realm that is the upside down and the expanded part of that, which comes into their town. So he obviously becomes a hero, you know, anti-hero if you want to call it. And Vecna, obviously being played by Jamie Campbell Bower, or number one, finding out his backstory as well was just, I mean, threaded amazingly. Even if you had a hunch at the beginning of the season, you know, leading up to this, the first 3 seasons, you didn't see it coming. Like the minute that this character was introduced, you were like, oh, he was pulling the strings the whole time. He was the puppet master the whole time. No, they threaded this perfectly, and it wasn't something that they used as an scapegoat. You know, they weren't like, all right, well, we don't really know how this is all connected, and we didn't know if this show was going to be successful, so we kind of wrote each season like if it got canceled, we could cut it off there and people would be okay with it. No, they had been thinking about this scenario since the beginning. They just didn't know how it was going to play out in an actual character until, you know, the fans see it on the screen. I mean, they may have known in writing, but they didn't like fully see it, you know, come to life, come to fruition until the fans were just like, you know, give us as much Stranger Things as you can. And that gave them room to kind of explore and make this beautiful character, which is just a mixture of Jason, Freddy, Mike Myers, all the 80s, you know, Leatherface, Pinhead, all of these 80s scary characters that, you know, deal in realms, evil realms, and in your dreams, and supernatural. They put it all into one, and had this great actor, you know, come and portray it, because not only does he do the physical form, he also does the voice. And there's some behind the scenes stuff where you can see they didn't distort it too much for him to portray Vecna's voice when he is, you know, fully the evil entity, which is just amazing. And on top of that, another great character that they added for some comic relief was Eduardo Franco, and he plays Argyle, the long-haired guy that plays at Surfer Bros Pizza, and he gives just enough humor and just enough of Fast Times at Ridgemont High vibes, which, you know, you're just kind of like, that's Sean Penn reincarnated playing this role. And he does a really great job, because the persona of that character is back in the day of using the like, whoa man, cool, totally tubular, doesn't play well on screen so much anymore, because it's over exaggerated and just kind of like too campy. But he does it in a very subtle way, to where you're kind of like, man, this guy really, you know, pulled off this role. And the comedy is not flat, and it's not overpowering, and the people that he's grouped with is perfect for it. Like, he, you know, Jeff Spicoli, but Indian or Hispanic, with, you know, the same enticements, riding waves, smoking weed, but he doesn't take away anything from the story. He does add, because he does help in his own way, and he finds solutions to problems that we would never think of, because he has a simple mind. So I really enjoy him. Looking forward to seeing him in the 5th season, as I'm sure he's going to get a little bit more screen time, as he's becoming more of a popular character already on t-shirts and bobbleheads and things like that. And you know, when that hits, you're kind of like in it, which I think, another spoiler, if you there's some good theories about Eddie Munson, and that, you know, where if he actually fully died, or if you look into Dungeons and Dragons lore, he could become this character, which is like this vampire type hero, and he could come back in some sort of a sense. And the actor himself has said that he really hopes he is a part of it. Another character that I really liked, that is with he is in the Russian prison where they're holding Hopper. His name is Tom Washaka. But he plays Dimitri, and he has got his own serious but yet really dry humor, but he also plays the serious parts of it, and you can just kind of really relate with his character being in the predicament that he's in. He's just trying to make a little extra money on the side for his family, and to kind of get through the Cold War, and just trying to do his job. But he kind of sees the sympathy in somebody else who is trying to get back to their family and trying to do right by other people, and eventually becomes an ally. And he definitely looks like somebody who you've seen in the past in the series, like, oh, this guy's gonna buy it, you know, like you're gonna get us to really like him, and then he's gonna kick the bucket. But he does make it through, so looking forward to seeing him, how he contributes to this next season. And then, of course, not a new addition, but the character Murray Ballman, who is played by Brett Gelman. That guy, the skills he picks up between last season and this season, where he goes and takes like taekwondo and karate and all this stuff, and then basically becomes the James Bond of this series, but still with his Murray personality, you know, paranoia and everything that comes along with it, but his special skills, he really takes it to that next level. And you just can't help but to enjoy every moment that he's on the screen. And he does some just like really iconic scenes that are mirrored to movies and shows from the 80s and 90s, and just like things that you would see were staples of shows, just like the really loud, like, yeah, at the right at the screen, or the, you know, just overly dramatic yelling and excitement or fear. He just really did really well in bringing that to the table. And yes, with that being said, I mean, you rock into the next part of the series where Vecna has now come to light, and they know that Vecna, after Millie Bobby's character 11 has been taken capture again, and goes back and finds out that Papa is still running stuff from behind the scenes, that Vecna was actually part of the project where she is number 11, he was number 1, and he actually helped her in try to escape in hopes that she would become his ally. And by her battling him at one point, and Papa kind of turning them against each other, or saying one is greater than the other, or being like, no, we need the power of both of you, when 11 and 1 fight, that's actually the very first season when the gate is opened, because she sends him into the Upside Down because of their psychic abilities and their power come to head and open a gate to this third world, the Upside Down. And so that's where everything starts from the first series. You get to watch how he has been in the Upside Down trying to get out and looking for ways to commune with 11 without her knowing, and using her abilities to help him escape. So her now, without her powers at the beginning of this series, she's trying to rediscover those powers, but is it going to help, or is it going to hurt or help, you know, Vecna come out of the Upside Down? She doesn't find out till later, as she starts going through a series of trainings again with Papa. And it's not so much as a montage like we get in Rocky and stuff, but there are times where they show him just helping her get her force abilities, if you will, back, and still manipulating her. And that's when they do bring in another great actor that has been around for quite some time, and I like how they bring actors from the 80s, from other big shows and were just big names in the 80s, and put them in here as subtle roles. So you get Paul Reiser comes in as Sam Owens, and you really just get this love for this character as well, because you think that he's going to be an evil scientist along with Papa, but he's got a conscience, and he is really trying to help 11 find her way on her own terms. And he gives her the opportunity to kind of decide where she's going to go, and without holding her prisoner for reasons that she doesn't understand, because she's still getting used to, you know, this reality. Even 4 seasons in, she's still getting used to it. So being thrust back into this, you know, scientific laboratory where it all started jolts her again, and so she's kind of having a inner struggle. But there are a lot of people to help her along the way, and as we get into chapter 4, we start diving into the story of Max, and Max becomes a target for Vecna, because Vecna needs certain sacrifices, 4 to be exact, to help open this gate. And that you find that out when they kind of decode certain things in the series, the chimes of the clock and sounds and just the lights and certain things, and they figure out that she is on the list. So Vecna gets a hold of her and tries to bring her into his realm so that he can kill her, but he brings her in there, and they find out that there is a little shortcut to pulling her back, and that there is a antidote, a kryptonite, if you will. And that is when we get the full-on comeback of Kate Bush and the single Running Up the Hill. That's from 1985, so 37 years in the making. Could you imagine being this pop star from the 80s and just, you know, been in retirement for so long in your 60s, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, here's just millions of dollars of, you know, in money, and you're now on Spotify, you're the #1, you know, searched out and downloaded or whatever song, and you're just like, what? I mean, you hear it everywhere. Any place that's selling Stranger Things attire or memorabilia, that Kate Bush song comes on, you know what it is, and you will hear it for a long time, and people are using it in their Instagram, TikTok posts. It is a really catchy tune, and you will start to like it the minute that you hear it. But as we move forward, they find out that they can play that song, and as long as she keeps it on her tape recorder and, you know, headphones, you know, Vecna can't get to her. It's kind of like this disturbance, static between him and his connection to her. But meanwhile, they're going through that, and of course, you know, the kids still have feelings for each other. So, you know, Max and the girls are still dealing with teenage romance and how to get through it, because Lucas and Max had a thing, and in this season they're kind of separated because Max wants to like join the basketball team, be on varsity, be popular, and Max is still dealing with the death of her brother, so they kind of separated, and there's distance between them. And Eleven and Mike lives in Hawkins, and Eleven is in California, so when he flies out there to see her, you know, it's kind of like she really wants to impress him. She wants to continue with the honeymoon stages, which in your teenage year, those last years, you know. And so it's just, you know, it's awkward teen romance, which really warms the heart, because you remember some of the mistakes and some of the greatest choices you ever made in just trying to hold your crush's hand, wherever that may be, whoever that may be. And so he's trying to help her through this scenario so Vecna doesn't get, you know, his claws in her, literally. But as you move forward and the gang starts figuring out that this is a really big threat, and that there's something bigger going on in Hawkins, they all try to make it back to Hawkins to team up once again and go at this as one big striving force. And then you see Steve and his colleagues trying to venture through their young adult-ish life, and how they're going to deal with college, and how they're dealing with their romances. And Steve still has feelings for Nancy, obviously, and there's just the whole triangle that they keep, the writers, the Duffer Brothers, keep really contained and at bay. There's no like awkward, like, oh, they're about to cheat, you know, he's about to kiss here, and then there's going to be this love triangle battle. No, they keep it really well contained, as everyone is showing their emotion and their feelings. They're still very respectful of the scenario that they've all been through in the last 3 seasons. So we see Steve, and in his realm, he gets pulled into the upside down because of the way that they approached a death that occurred in Hawkins at what they think is the hands of Eddie Munson, but they find out quickly that he had nothing to do with it, that she had gotten pulled into the upside down by Vecna as his first or second, I guess it was, first victim, which was girl Cassie. And they go to where this murder occurred and find out that there is a gate into the upside down. So he goes and checks out what is the word there. At the same time, you have the kids in Hawkins now going to this haunted house, most likely looking like, to look for clues of basically where, number one, Vecna grew up, and they come across some things that are starting to link their gateway or area to the gateway that is in the trailer park where Steve has gone through now. And so there are a total of 2 victims, as there was a assistant with Nancy in her writing and journalism that went with her to investigate also where Eddie Munson disappeared, because he ran after this girl was killed by Vecna, and he gets this kid that is with Nancy gets taken as well. So Steve is in the Upside Down, and then all the girls get their shirtless Steve moments, where he just looks like a total 80s badass. And there are some really great mirrored 80s images and to videos and stuff like that come out right after this. There's a really great Red Dawn parody type-ish where they're all packed and ready to go, and they're wearing a lot of the similar clothing that the Wolverines from Red Dawn in the 80s wore. And then there is a Star Wars scene where the military comes to the facility in Nevada where 11 is being retrained or retortured, or however you want to look at it, and they do this Star Wars hallway scene that's very similar to the beginning of A New Hope. And these are just a few things that leads up to, you know, your climactic ending of the season, where everyone is now on the same path to defeat Vecna. Now Vecna is 1 foot out the door. Basically his full body realm, his bot form physically is actually in the attic at the house that he grew up in, and he's kind of like in the spiderweb type looking deal, but it's like arms and it's all one piece of his body. And yeah, they eventually figure that out, but that's not to the very end scenes. So they have to go back into the Upside Down, where that's when they gear up, and you get the Wolverine scene and everything like that, and they all decide in their own terms that they need to revisit the Upside Down. So 11, being in California and can't reach, she gets rescued by Mike and the squad, and what's Noah's character? Will. I've been blanking on that this whole time. But Mike and Will and John and Charlie, which plays Jonathan. So Jonathan, Mike and Will and Argyle, they all go and save 11, and 11 comes mentally battling. It's like, I need to get to them. I can do it through this piggyback, through Max, basically this mental battle. So she goes into a homemade deprivation tank, which I say Argyle comes up with his skills, and they fill up this pizza freezer with salts. She lays down in it, kind of like a deprivation tank, and basically goes into Max's mind, where Max is being used as bait now to go and pull Vecna out so they can attack him from all angles. So she goes into Max's mind. Max, now in the Upside Down, takes off her music, is in the Upside Down. They're in there together, but they don't know they're with each other. Or 11 knows she's with Max, but not vice versa. And she eventually shows up right as Vecna is about to kill Max. He has her lifted in the air, doing all the weird arm breaking, leg breaking, looking like a praying mantis kill move. And here comes Hero 11 with her Jedi senses and just starts putting the smackdown on. That all is all very, like, just big picture too, as I'm giving this general overview. The show, though, the music is just amazing. The each scene is just really, really well prepared for full on just dynamic. It just works really well. As I said, during that same time when they're trying to draw out Vecna, that's when we get Eddie Munson, and he pulls out his guitar, gets on top of the trailer, and this is in the upside down version. And so there's red lightning going on behind him. There's the entities just all around him. It's just this organism that's just kind of moving around him. And right then he plugs in his guitar and goes into Master of Puppets, and you're just like, this is ridiculous. Like, you want that immediately to play over and over again on the back screen of any of your computer or your laptop, whatever. And so when the season is coming to its big peak and the battle is going on between 11 and Vecna, you're really getting that sense of like, all right, who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. And sure enough, you know, Eddie Munson, after his great solo, takes off and has to self-sacrifice himself so Dustin can get away. And he gets chased down by these bat-type creatures, and they start gnawing away at him. And Dustin comes back and holds him in his arms, and you have that really heart-wrenching moment of like, you know, don't die, love you man type moment. And supposedly he passes on. We shall see in the next one. But also on the other end, Vecna seems to get defeated, gets smashed out its window, caught on fire, just completely beat up by 11. I feel like this is very reminiscent of also when Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi fight in the Revenge of the Sith, and he is left to die, and they're just like, you know, well, maybe he's gone, maybe he's not. And they do a couple of fast forward, you know, time jumps, and you get to see that they all make it back to Hawkins. Finally, everyone unites. Hopper gets to see 11 again. There's a heartwarming moment. Everybody is reunited. The families, brothers, sisters, everything. Boyfriend, girlfriends. Everybody gets to see each other. But right about then, a volcano is going off. The other Earth is cracking. And basically, the Upside Down is coming into Hawkins, Indiana through the massive gate and becoming the Upside Down. And that's kind of where they fade away, you know, the scene. They're all on this hilltop looking down at it. And once again, just the camera angles and cinematography is just brilliant. And they, you know, the show ends there, and you just sit back. And as somebody who's really a fan of nostalgia, I know I've beaten this dead horse, but it is just pure, just gold. I mean, 10 out of 10. I don't even know how, you know, they're going to do season 5 and top that, but I know that they are. And that's where it comes to the Star Wars things comes up again. Look, with all of the outlets and things at their disposal, Kathleen Kennedy and that whole company and Disney and everybody, like everything that you have at your disposal, and you're still putting out mediocre, you know, type content when it's easy to just turn it into gold. And that's the thing they ride on. They know that people are going to watch it no matter what. And then you've got people like this, the Duffer Brothers, who are writing, directing, producing everything and creating this absolute masterpiece for Netflix. It just boggles the mind, but also gives hope, because I really hope that they take note on this and they're like, we can do better, we should do better, be better, you know. So no big gripes, just kind of like, I wish other people would really, you know, take note of this, because this is just really fun and amazing series that will go down in the history books. And I really think that they will nail the landing, and it'll be something that you show your kids, and will just, you know, it'll come out in DVD box sets and people will actually buy it, Blu-ray, whatever, because you want that on your shelf as part of your memorabilia or just swag in the background of YouTube channels like this. Yeah, I'm just thoroughly impressed. I can't say enough of how great the show is, and I'm super proud of the Duffer Brothers and all the actors. If they're watching, like, you guys are just, you really brought something special to the screen. All of your viewers, I think we can all say in unison, we really enjoyed it, and thank you so much, because it is just perfect. And all the homework and studying and hard, you know, like putting yourselves fully on the line to be these characters and not knowing what's next and sticking to it for 4 seasons when you know that you start getting offers for other stuff is seen, and we recognize it. So man, this is just, it's like I said, I don't have enough to say about it, but I'll end the video there. Please smash a like if you like this content, and I'll do some more breakdowns. They won't be this lengthy, but I really had to just jump into this because it has just been a roller coaster and super fun ride of this 4th season of Stranger Things, and I'm really looking forward to the next season. But that being said, we'll see you on the next episode of Melgar Media, either What Is Newin', Whatcha Watchin', or the Scruffy Nerf Herder Show. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Be safe. Take care of each other. As Eddie Munson said, don't change. Don't ever change unless it's for the good. But we'll talk to you soon. Melgar Media out. Peace.